Curse of the Rabid Night. Written by Silverhare. Chapter 1. An Ominous Arrival. Ethan's journey to Ravenbrook was a descent into an eerie silence, the dense forest canopy blotting out the sky, creating a perpetual twilight. The village, nestled in the heart of these woods, was a relic of the past, its cobblestone streets and ancient homes untouched by the passage of time. As he walked the streets, Ethan felt the weight of the village's stairs, heavy with a mix of fear and resignation. The air was thick with unspoken warnings and secrets, each glance and whisper adding to the tapestry of mystery that shrouded this secluded place. The architecture of Ravenbrook spoke of its ancient heritage, with buildings that leaned slightly, as if bearing the weight of centuries. The dim light that filtered through the trees gave the village an otherworldly glow, casting long, ominous shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. Chapter 2. The Legend Unveiled. The villagers, initially reluctant to speak, eventually began to share their stories with Ethan. Each tale was a thread in the dark tapestry of the Rabid Night, a cursed event that transformed the villagers into monstrous beings, driven by an insatiable hunger. These stories were not just accounts of transformation, but of personal loss and tragedy. Ethan heard of families torn apart, of loved ones who became unrecognizable monsters, and of the unexplained survival of the village, despite the repeated onslaughts of horror. As Ethan delved deeper, the legend grew more vivid. The Rabid Night, they said, was marked by a blood-red moon, a celestial sign of the curse that gripped their village. It was a night where the boundary between man and beast was erased, where primal instincts overrode all semblance of humanity. Chapter 3. Skepticism and Shadows. Despite the chilling accounts, Ethan remained skeptical. He saw the legend as a fascinating psychological phenomenon, a collective delusion born from isolation and superstition. He set up his equipment, determined to document the so-called Rabid Night and unveil the truth behind the tales. But as dusk fell and the moon rose, tinged with an unnatural red hue, a sense of unease crept over him. The village, once quaint in its antiquity, now felt like a stage set for some macabre play. The shadows seemed to whisper, and the wind carried echoes of distress. Chapter 4. The Nightmare Begins. As the clock struck the witching hour, a palpable change swept through Ravenbrook. The villagers, one by one, began their grotesque transformation, their bodies contorted, their eyes glowing with a feral red light, their cries a mix of human agony and bestial ferocity. Ethan watched, frozen in horror, as the night erupted into chaos. The streets of Ravenbrook became hunting grounds, the creatures that were once its inhabitants, now predators, driven by a dark, insatiable hunger. The air was filled with the sounds of destruction and despair, a cacophony that drowned out all reason. Chapter 5. Hunted in Ravenbrook. Ethan's skepticism shattered, replaced by a primal fear for survival. He navigated the nightmare, each turn bringing him face to face with horrors unimaginable. The creatures, their humanity erased, were relentless in their pursuit, their actions void of any remaining semblance of their former selves. He sought refuge in the shadows, his camera abandoned, his mind struggling to comprehend the reality unfolding before him. The village he had walked through hours earlier was now a labyrinth of terror, each corner hiding unspeakable dangers, each scream a reminder of the nightmare he was trapped in. Chapter 6. The Dark Truth. Ethan's desperate search for answers led him to the heart of Ravenbrook's old library, a place where time seemed to have stood still, its shelves laden with ancient tomes and scrolls. The air was thick with the musty scent of aged paper and forgotten lore. Under the flickering light of a solitary candle, Ethan began to unravel the twisted history of the curse. He discovered a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed and fragile, penned by the village's founder. The journal spoke of a dark pact made centuries ago with a mysterious entity, a being of shadows and whispers. In exchange for prosperity and protection, the villagers had promised a tribute, a sacrifice that was abandoned in a moment of collective greed and fear. The night of their betrayal, the entity unleashed its wrath, cursing the villagers with a primal curse that stripped them of their humanity, turning them into the very embodiment of their inner darkness. This curse was to last until the villagers atoned for their sin, a condition lost to time, its terms forgotten by the descendants. As Ethan delved deeper, he found chilling accounts of each Rabid Night, the cycles of violence and terror, meticulously recorded by successive generations. The curse was not just a punishment, it was a reminder of the dark depths to which humanity could sink, a never-ending cycle of retribution and horror. Chapter 7. A Desperate Escape. With the first light of dawn casting a pale glow over the village, Ethan emerged from the library, his mind reeling from the revelations. The streets of Ravenbrook were silent, the chaos of the night replaced by an eerie calm. The buildings and cobblestones bore the scars of the night's horrors, the air still echoing with the remnants of screams and growls. Ethan's escape was a blur, his every step haunted by the memories of the night. He passed homes where families had been torn apart, streets where friends had turned on each other, all under the curse's malignant influence. The faces of the villagers, now returned to their human forms, were etched with sorrow and loss, a community forever bound to relive their ancestors' sin. As he left the village, the weight of what he had witnessed bore down on him. He had come seeking a myth, a legend, but had found a living nightmare, a tale of human frailty, and a curse that defied time. The forest that had seemed so oppressive on his arrival now felt like a refuge, a barrier between him and the cursed village. Ethan's journey back to civilization was one of introspection and dread. His initial skepticism had given way to a harrowing understanding of the darkness that lurked within humanity. The footage he had hoped would make his career was now a burden, a record of a truth too terrifying to be believed. Upon his return, Ethan shared his account, but it was met with ridicule and disbelief. His footage showed only his own panicked reactions, the creatures of the night conspicuously absent, as if the curse shielded itself from the prying eyes of the modern world. Ethan's story, rather than being a revelation of the supernatural, became a testament to his own breakdown, a tale dismissed as the delusions of a man broken by his own fears. Haunted by the knowledge that the Rabid Night would return, Ethan found no solace in his return to normalcy. The curse of Ravenbrook was a specter that loomed over him, a reminder of the night he peered into the abyss and saw the monstrous face of humanity reflected back. Chapter 8. Disbelief and Haunting Knowledge. Back in the world of the living, Ethan's story was met with skepticism and disbelief. His video, meant to be undeniable proof, showed only his reactions, the creatures never captured on film. His harrowing experience was dismissed as an elaborate fabrication. Haunted by what he knew, Ethan lived in the shadow of that fateful night. He knew the curse of Ravenbrook was real, and that he was one of the few who had witnessed its ancient horror and survived. But the knowledge brought no peace, only a lingering dread of the next Rabid Night, a curse that would rise again.